In this video, I'm going to walk through the Google Doc that I made to support Unit 5, Day 14 lesson on African American and Native American contributions in World War II. So this lesson corresponds directly with the Google slide presentation, and if you're going to use the Google slide presentation, I'd recommend making sure to watch the first video in this series. I made this document because the independent work seemed to be have students add to multiple different charts, and I wanted them to only add to one. So I added the focus question and the lesson objective, the hook, and the background from the slides directly. The background is reviewed in a mini lesson video that I've created, so if you want to use that with your students, please check that out. And then it jumps into the independent work. So the directions are up here. If you're changing how you want students to do this, if they're doing it independently or in breakout rooms, you should change the directions accordingly. And the documents for 2 of the studies are located in the student workbook, but the first study is on the slides, and I talked about that in the previous video. So it is linked here, the slides are linked here, and the student workbook is linked here. However, the link to the student workbook is a little bulky because it brings students, you have to download the student workbook because it's too large of a file to look at on the internet. So you might, if they're not familiar with that, you might have them just use the slide deck because they're also in the slides as well. Then the students would be looking at the case studies materials and adding information to their advancement and opportunity column versus the limitation and discrimination column. And this is pretty straightforward, especially for the second 2, because in the workbook, it will show a few quotes from that person. And so it's their experience talking about what it was like during World War II. And that's it. Then it gets to the wrap up for the lesson, in which students are thinking about the experience through another perspective. And this is what they can share. There are sentence starters, but if you feel like your students don't need those, you can take those out. And I also added the second half of the wrap up here as well, which is just to synthesize the information that they learn. And just like the slides, they should be answering wherever there's a blue box. There is no check for understanding in this lesson, so it is a pretty straightforward lesson without too many different steps.